either we are going to have to start going into space and doing exploration, which we have not been doing for freaking a very long time. Okay.
Remember the other programs you were talking about?
Uh huh.
I'm of the belief we've been doing a lot more of it than we've admitted to.
Oh yeah.
Now, I don't have any firsthand info on that. All I have is, layer, as I think of it, layer 3 and 4 stuff. But I think we've been doing a lot more exploration than we've admitted to.
Well, a lot of people talk about the Orion project and how that kind of just vanished. You know what I mean? The Orion project was really, really. They were sincere about getting their asses to freaking another galaxy. Even they,
So there's been more than one Orion project. I assume you're talking about the nuclear propulsion Orion project.
yeah, that came out pretty strong. And they weren't playing around either. That wasn't like using experiments for seeing if the metal. They were even going to use heavy metals to build their spaceships with. They didn't care about all that lightweight shit. You know what I mean? They're like, we're going to use nuclear bombs at the back of our ships, and that's going to push us. And
See, the Orion project, I think the only reason I think we could have possibly pulled it off is the lift technology, the anti-grav tech that we supposedly have that obviously isn't public. Again, we're getting into layer 4 and 5, 3,
yeah,
4, and 5 there. So I don't know if we actually do have the anti-grav tech. I've heard from a little more trusted directions that we do, but it's never been firsthand info. It's never been anything I saw myself.
yeah. And see, that's what makes it hard. Like, if you don't see it, it's really hard for you to believe it. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't see that as a problem, to be honest with you. Like, people ask me if I believe in UFOs. Well, no, I don't believe in it because, first of all, I've never seen a UFO. You know what I mean? And I have no problem with that. I think that
Hello. Oh,
I mean, and when it comes to everything in my life, if I haven't experienced it, I can't honestly tell you that it exists. I just can't.
I don't know if I've seen one or not. I did see something in the air that was very distant that seemed to break the laws of physics, but it was so far away it looked like a star almost. So, yeah, I don't know if I've seen one or not. If I did, it was a long ways off.
Yeah, and I
I
I
have a
mean,
question. You said if you have not experienced it, you cannot necessarily say you do or do not believe it. So, are you a believer by sight?
well, let me put it to you this
Knowledge.
way.
Do you consider yourself myself?
We're talking we're talking about something that a lot of the old timer conspiracy theorists used to say, and it says, freaking what is it? Uh, Something about listen to everything and believe nothing. You know what I mean? It's like you turn around and you listen to the information that's being handed to you and you believe that stuff. There's a good chance you're just gonna get suckered into believing shit like all the old ones. And I'm talking about even the crazy ones like Maxwell. Maxwell was one of the older conspiracy theorists too. He was around, you know, back in the 80s whenever freaking everybody that is talking this stuff now, like David Icke, okay? David Icke pulled like 3/4 of his shit off of freaking Maxwell. And Maxwell was crazy as dog shit, okay? I mean, but he would tell you straight out. He'd be like, you know what? The reason why you don't believe me is because you're stupid, you know? And I didn't agree with 500 or about 50% of what he was saying, maybe 75, but he
Did you
knew.
research it yourself?
Yeah, I researched it myself. Like he he
Was he right?
not really. Like he would try to
Mm.
relate words to things that weren't really relatable. Like he would try to connect it by words that were being said. You know what I mean? And that that was a good thing to research. Don't get me wrong, because I started learning about vocabulary and how people say things. And that helped me out in that aspect. But at the same time, like a lot of the stuff that he said didn't really correlate with one another. You know what I mean? Like he was real big about the word birthing when it came to ships berthing into a port, which was a pretty cool concept. You know what I mean? But he would kind of take that a little too far.
Are you able to elaborate on it a little bit, if you don't mind? Just birthing. Can you, if you, as much as you remember, and if you're unable to, I understand. But I'm just curious.
Well, like when a ship berths, okay, in port, like you become that ship becomes a part of that government's responsibility, basically. And while it's out at sea, it's nobody's responsibility in the open seas because there's no well, it's international seas. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there's no laws on the water.
There's no
Yeah, that's
laws.
why you can drink on cruise ships and you can gamble. Yeah. They told us that when we went on a cruise. Yeah, I know what you mean. Go ahead, I'm listening.
And that's basically the thing. And you look at the process there, like there's no laws when you're at open sea, but the moment you go into a port in a country, first they have to birth you. You have to be birthed as you're entering in and docking. And then after you're birthed, then you can enter into the country. And he was like going through that process. It is kind of complicated, but that part I understand. There's a lot of other things though that he said that was like just you have to kind of pick and choose. And I hate saying that because I know people hate hearing that, but cherry picking is something you've got to do. I don't care if it's getting criticized or not, but I mean you have to cherry pick because there's just some things that some people say that make sense, and then some things are just completely ridiculous. You know what I mean? You have to be able to discern between it. That's the one thing I always stand by is you have to discern between the truth and the false.
I will say David Icke is also politically active. And when he makes a prediction or he says something politically, he's usually on the he's usually got the hammer in the nail just right on.
It's pretty
Now,
scary.
Yeah, I almost feel bad that I haven't read some more of his stuff, like the books you're talking about, the old books he wrote. But he does tend to trend well. A little over 20 years ago, when I was still young, I used to listen to Art Bell on occasion,
Oh yeah.
and I really appreciated his approach to things because it didn't matter who he had on the phone. They could have been completely batshit crazy, or they could have been revealing things left and right. He just sat there, sucked on cigarettes, and encouraged them to keep talking.
Yeah.
I really liked his approach. Art Bell didn't so much interview people as he did just giving them a ranting platform and poking them along.
And see, that's the kind of thing I want to do here too, which is really hard to do because Art Bell had a talent. He was the king of radio. I don't care what anybody says. You know what I mean? He could talk about anything with anybody, and it was just you felt good. And I loved his Halloween specials. You know what I mean? People would get on there and they would talk about their encounters with UFOs and ghosts and tell their ghost stories, and they'd do it all night long. And he would just sit there and enjoy it. And I love that stuff. There's never going to be anybody that could take Art Bell's place ever.
Now, I do, since we're talking about Art Bell for a moment, the Y2K thing. You might be able to tell by my setting and talking about this. I've been in IT and technology my entire adult life. And back in 1998, when the Y2K scare was going full throttle, I kind of sat back and laughed about Art Bell because he was selling hand cranked radios, cranked up flashlights. He was I think he inspired Alex Jones to do what Alex Jones does now on his sales stuff. But yeah, Art Bell was doing everything he could to hype up the Y2K thing
Yeah.
because he was profiting big time off of selling all that stuff. And I can't say that I blame him too much. I was actually trying to get people to chill out about it, but I actually upset some people when I told them I don't think it's going to be as bad as they're making it out to be. But that's what, human nature. There are people out there that want something to panic about. And those people were happy as pigs in shit when the coronavirus thing came around.
Yeah. And see, when you were talking about that, um, you look at Alex Jones, okay?
I mean, it's Jones
he
right here on,
he
if you look on
basically
Google.
tried to do exactly the same thing Arbell did. Like, he started following Trump, and
Right for the
and
Brazilian county
I'm
line.
not dissing Donald Trump. I'm not doing that at all. I don't want to make it political, but look at what Art Bell did back with Ross Perot. You remember those days? It was like he was just so gung ho Ross Perot, and I could tell whenever Alex Jones was doing that stuff. I did notice the correlation between Alex Jones and Art Bell. Okay, I'll put it to you that way. I agree with you 100% on that one. He was just trying so hard to be like Art Bell, and he couldn't do it.
Jones is he's too hyper and too opinionated.
Yeah.
Like I said, what made Art Bell great was the fact he would just sit there, suck on a cigarette, and poke you with a stick to keep you going every now and then. Jones, he's got to talk over someone.
Well, there was times when Art Bell would actually like get away from the radio and go sort through his closet because he had his little freaking rummaging closet back to the side.
From the
And then while everybody's talking, he'd be like, "I'm sorry, I had to go into my closet and get some stuff." So while everybody's talking, he's just sitting there freaking rummaging through his closet because he moved out into the desert and he had his own studio and everything. And he was,
you want to move?
he was
Okay,
doing
I see.
great.
Yeah, I didn't listen in the Perot days. I was in high school then. I started listening to Bell a little bit in, I think, 96 or 97 when I was 18 and working as a security guard at night. And a little bit into my early 20s, I guess. And then, shift changes happened, new job, and he finally went off the air. I checked in on him occasionally, but I wasn't a long-term dedicated listener. I was a listen when I could guy, especially when I was on the night shift, which was quite frequent in the late 90s, early 2000s. But, I just basically discovered you today because of the chat room.
Okay.
So, good
I'm
thing
glad-
there.
I'm glad you
I don't know
came
how
in.
much reach we have.
I'm glad you came in, man. I mean, this has been a really good conversation, and from what you've been talking about, believe it or not, I mean, it's pretty down to earth. It's pretty much where I've been kind of settling in when it comes to the whole conspiracy theory thing, because, like, first of all, like, I know a lot of people believe that the Freemasons were big on conspiracy, but for me, I have to go off of what I've learned, and I've literally found no evidence whatsoever to show that Freemasons were conspiracy oriented whatsoever. You know what I mean? Now you can,
But that's because conspiracies are not really conspiracies. It's more people have conspiracies about the Freemasons as opposed to it being
exactly. It's more of the people talking crap about the Freemasons than what it is actual facts that they did anything. Like if you go and you check out Freemasonry, all you're going to find majority of the time is information about their rituals. You're going to find that. You're going to find out about their lodges and how they're autonomous.
Yeah,
things like that.
The autonomous part is actually probably what fuels a lot of the conspiracy around them. They are very fractured, and the Masons of today, pretty much anything that's good is going to get hijacked.
So which one do you
So I think what's happened is there was probably a lot of really good Masons at one time in the past. And I think a lot of lodges probably got hijacked in between.